Okay, I'm back on this piece, and I'm really happy with the way the couching is laid down. I still have to go tack down some of the looser spots, but that's okay. I was just going to pop in and add some knots. This is probably an acrylic, probably came in somebody's tapestry kit. I bought a big lot on Etsy of threads, so I got embroidery floss, I got some really nice DMC floss, and I got a whole bunch of tapestry threads, and there's some silk in there, there's some wool, and most of them are these acrylics. So I thought I doubled it up, and I just wanted to see if it was something that was going to make some nice knots for me. It slides through there just fine, so I think this is going to be really good. Yeah, this is going to be just fine. All the threads that I bought, that came in these colors, and I mean, we're talking, I don't know, like 50 skeins, but they're like mini skeins. There's not a whole lot on it, which was great because I got a variety of colors, but not so much of it will take me forever to use up. But they're all in these little folded in hanks, and they don't unfold nice and neat. And over time, while we're watching TV, I'm just sitting there and undoing them and putting them on the little cardboard bobbin cards like this. All right, this is good. Doubled up. French knots, the more knots you do, I tend to stop at 3. Sometimes I'll do 1, sometimes 3. I tend to do most things in odd numbers. But then if you want an even bigger knot, you can double your thread, you can quadruple your thread, as long as you can pull your needle through. And of course, if I have sloppy knots, I don't care. All right, this is a good color for this. This is going to work out very nicely. And this is the stage in the game when I start wondering, what's the story in this piece? Is there a story in this piece? Is there a name that's like sitting right out of, messed that one up, right out of reach for me? I always love to have names for my pieces, and I do tend to struggle with that. Okay, and that one's going to come up kind of loose and loopy, and I'm okay with that. I am really okay with that. So I tend to do my knots in batches of, 1, 3, 5, just because, again, it's odd numbers. And I'll do them, I'll go around for a while with one color, and then when I get bored with that color, I will grab another one. So I have, let's see, also, okay, these are nice, loosey, goosey ones, and I like that. Now, if you've got couching over here that still needs to come down, I think I have some, there we go. I have some of this in green, so I can start mixing those up. You can also use a French knot or colonial knot and just go right back down in what you're couching, and then you'll have a knot right on top. And that gives you yet another look. Plus, it helps you hold down your couching. We're going to purposely make that nice and loose. There we go. So that's just adding a few little things. And if you decide down the road that, oh, you don't like that color, it's not exactly what you wanted, don't stress about it. Just add some more French knots over the top. Or imagine, come in later maybe with a bead. Maybe you're going to come in with the green beads with it. Maybe you're going to come in with the tiny beads, which I think is my new favorite color bead. All right, let's try. I don't have my bullion needle over here, but that's okay. Oh, maybe I do. I think that will work. All right, let's do some bullion right about here. I'm going to go up and over our couching. It's a slightly dull needle. But it'll give us a way to see what this is going to look like. I have a cut on my finger, so I'm trying not to push too hard with my finger and break the cut open. I think this is going to be great to use for bullion. Oh, I can see a little curve on the end of this. Yeah, so this needle is, this one is about dead, so I will use it with this thread that's on it, and I'm going to say that's it. But now that I understand the needles that I like best, it's easier to keep stock of just those and not waste my money on other ones. Yeah, and it's not sliding smoothly either, so the needle is not as polished as it was. All right. So this one went short. I wasn't paying attention, which tends to happen when I'm doing the bullion knots on camera. It's not the end of the world. It's actually a good opportunity to show you something. All right, so I've got, look at here. We've got a, oh my gosh, it's a wonky thing here. Oh my gosh, it's a wonky thing here. What I wanted to see was what I thought about the colors. The colors are absolutely perfect. Because this needle has got an issue, I am going to do this. And I'm going to tie off. No, I'm not going to tie off. I'm just going to swap the needle. It's another one that's dead. And there's a good one. And I'm going to thread it back. I'll have to get out some other bullion needles, and I'll do those another day. And I can always turn the camera back on again later. But this way I can show you, okay, don't stress if you've got, the little loops there. Normally what I would do is 3 bullion stitches in varying places and varying lengths in the same color thread, and then I would come back in. But I'm going to just show you right now, since I know I've got a lot of thread on here. I'm just going to come right back in here and do some French knots. And they can be the tight knots, they can be the loose knots, they can be a combination. But there's rarely anything that you're going to do with your stitching that can't be fixed with more stitching. Maybe it's not going to be the original idea that you had, but it's going to be fine. Many of us came to stitching as a form of relaxation, or maybe you came to stitching when the pandemic was at its worst and we were stuck at home, and it became, a stitch meditation for many of us. And that means don't freak out because, oh, I didn't make my bullion knot long enough. Nah, not worth it. It's not worth it. And I already know I'm in love with this thread for this fabric. And I'm going to do more. I'm not even going to worry about this one here because I'm going to come back in with a new bullion needle and do more. So let's just come over here and we'll do some more French knots. You don't need to know a lot of stitches to make yourself a beautiful piece of textile art. And again, I maintain that, you just need to be having a good time working on it. If you're not having fun working on it, go find something else. If you get really frustrated, I've done this. If you saw my blue vessel, the storm one, I put that stuff aside for a year because I was so frustrated with the way it wasn't coming together. I didn't like anything about it. So what? So what? That's why you're going to see for the next bit of time here, if you're a regular viewer, you're going to see a lot of beginning projects, a lot of the projects just in the very early stages, because I want to get a lot of things to this stage where I've eliminated the stuff that I don't think I'm going to use. All right, I'm just going to randomly come over here, and I'm just going to do colonial knots over here. Because that way if I get frustrated with one, like I wanted to start this one today because I'm working on another blue project, and I have a lot of blue threads, but the tones, they weren't exciting me. So I had to put it aside, and I'll go back to it now after working on this, and I'll be like, oh, I see something different, or, I can do a different stitch. And mostly I think it's that I'm close to the beading stage. And so we're just going to do, I like colonial knots. It's just a little figure 8. Let me show you a little bit nicer. I wasn't paying attention. Wasn't doing any instruction. Sorry. Bring it up. You go under, over, And there you have it. And it's just a different shape than if you were doing a French knot right now. I'll do one right next to it. So if you just do a one twist French knot, it's going to be even smaller than that colonial knot. So you've got, you know, a tiny French knot and a tiny colonial knot. And these things, you know, okay, you might say, why are they out there in the middle of nowhere? They're not going to do anything out in the middle of nowhere. Well, I don't know what else I'm going to do yet. Maybe I'm going to fill the space in between the knots with beads. Maybe I will fill the space in between the knots with seed stitch. Maybe I'm just going to let them hang out there like little stars out in, you know, the universe of Mars or something that would have these colors in it. You will rarely see anything realistic from me, although my trees, I do want to do more with my trees, but for the most part, when I'm doing just abstract embroidery like this, it is really abstract. It's just all over the place. It's whatever my mood is at the time. Sometimes you're in the mood to just do a whole bunch of running stitch. All right, so I put my needle down too far over, so I've got quite a tail. So let's just come in and do a few more knots right there. You can clean up your messes without having to cut everything out. I heard Fleur Woods say the other day that she didn't like to unpick things because it made her sad. And I thought that was a really good description. I don't get mad about it. I get sad that whatever happened, and usually it's because I'm in a hurry. I confess, it's almost always, if there's a gap that I have to take out, it's because I'm rushing for one reason or another. You know, and it's, this is not something you rush. This is something you take your time and enjoy. All right, I can maybe get one more. I'll just come over here and get one more little knot. I'll just do simple French knot. It should be, when you don't have a whole lot of thread left, it gets hard to make sure that you're going down close. There we go. And now this piece is getting a little more interesting. And eventually it will tell me what it's going to be called. And this is the way I'm looking at it, but who knows? It could end up being like this. It could end up being like this. But right now, as I'm working on it, this is what makes me happy. I'm going to do a whole bunch more bullion knots, a whole bunch more French and colonial knots, and then I'll be back.